Thank you so much. So the talk today will be a little bit similar to what Roger just gave us, but I'll try to kind of skip over some of the similarities and give you a bit of my take-home point and my perspective of sarcopenia and where we're currently at in the field. No disclosures. So I'd like to take us back to the root of what sarcopenia is. Sarc is the flesh and penia is the poverty or loss of, quite literally making sarcopenia the poverty or loss of flesh. And when this term was first coined in 1989 by Ernst Rosenberg, he defined it as the progressive generalized loss of skeletal muscle mass and an accompanying decline in function with increasing age. Since 1989, we've had about 8 different consensus groups come up with definitions of sarcopenia. And you can see here over the last 15 years, the definition has fluctuated. And the prominence of muscle mass as a central focus of sarcopenia has waned. And Roger gave us a nice overview of some of these, so I won't go back into those. But I think the reason why muscle mass has lost focus here is because of the way we are using the measures we have to measure it. And they've become a little less precise. So I think we need to really focus on what tools we have. And this has led to disagreements in the field, as well as difficulty in determining its prevalence, which has led to its impeding clinical treatment and being able to move the field forward. So we can see here that a systematic review and meta-analysis done by Dr. Alex Mayhew looked at summarizing the definitions of sarcopenia in the field, as well as exploring the prevalence estimates of sarcopenia by definition. And I know there's a lot going on the table, but I'll direct your attention to 2 different points here. So we had the International Working Group on Sarcopenia, and their definition showed about a 10% prevalence of sarcopenia when using this definition. And it ranges all the way up to 40% when sarcopenia is measured with just ALM adjusted to weight. And ALM, again, is the appendicular lean mass measured usually by DEXA. And so this fourfold difference, the fourfold difference here can be potentially attributed to the definition and how we are operationalizing it, which tools we're using to measure muscle, and which study populations there are. And so how do we regain focus? What does that mean for sarcopenia moving forward? So we know that muscle is important when aging. And as we age, we lose up to about 1% of muscle mass per year and about up to 3% of muscle strength per year. And this can lead individuals or older adults to fall below this disease and disability and dependency threshold at around 80 years of age without intervention. Unfortunately, this can be accelerated, this decline, by periods of disuse. So things like hospitalization, illness, surgeries, reduced physical activity, and that can lead to individuals falling below this dependency threshold much earlier. And that increases risks of hospitalization, falls, fractures, as well as lack of independence, and it can then in turn impact our healthcare system. So where do we go with this? What do we do? Fortunately, muscle can be rebuilt for older adults. But the one problem is once they've lost it, it is difficult to regain. So we can maintain where they're at, or if they experience this period of disuse, then they're likely to have a little bit more difficult time than younger folks to rebuild it. So by encouraging individuals to participate in resistance training, as well as participate in healthy lifestyles like nutrition, as well as consuming adequate amounts of protein, we can kind of allow them to follow this healthy trajectory. So that green line you see here, so you can build up a little bit of reserve of muscle mass. And so when faced with these periods of disuse, they might be less likely to fall below the disability threshold earlier in life. So what are the kind of takeaway points of this very quick talk? So we need a consensus definition to move the field forward. Currently, we are working towards that. I know there's a new group out that are aiming to do this. And I think that when we are defining sarcopenia, we need to make sure that it's still, muscle mass is still at the root of it. So I believe that sarcopenia is an age-related loss of muscle mass and accompanying strength and function. And I think one of the reasons why muscle is lost again, as Roger said, is that because we don't have, we're using proxy measures of muscle right now, and we don't have adequate measures. So we need to really focus on that aspect of sarcopenia. And then my recommendations, even though we currently don't have a consensus definition, I believe that the treatment or the interventions would be the same. So resistance training and a healthy diet with adequate protein intake are the most potent non-pharmacological treatments we have to mitigate age-related muscle loss. So even though we're still trying to figure out the field and where we're at, I still believe that we can, as researchers, industry, clinicians, can still be prescribing and treating older adults through these health style related interventions. Thank you.